ladybugs live? That's a good question. Honestly, they probably live like 45 days.
I don't know. You see them frozen in the windows, and then in the spring they come back.
Back to life?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a superpower.
I'm thinking they might be prehistoric.
That could be.
Thousands, hundreds of millions of years old.
Yeah, right.
They've evolved with everything else. Evolution. We can talk about evolution.
Yeah. I think we want to stay clear of evolution.
Why? Evolution, did it happen? No. Shortest podcast ever. We didn't even get time to get the title out. Evolution. No. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe.
But okay, so do you think this is a good? Well, first off,
are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording. I'm Matt.
I'm Brad.
This is Men Mission Manna. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button.
Yep.
Don't do the dislike button. Okay. Anyways, do you think there is any evolutionary truth? Do you think any species can evolve?
There's micro and macro.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So little things. It's been proven that. I don't know the island. I don't know the bird, but their beaks evolved over the time because the food source changed, and it was only coconuts that they could eat or something large coconut thing, and their beaks had to be able to rip open and get the meat or the milk or whatever it was out of that husk.
Okay.
So the birds evolved over, I don't know if it was decades or maybe hundreds of years, but it wasn't millions of years.
And they didn't like, it wasn't a macro evolution. It wasn't like they went from being birds to being
they went from being amoebas to birds to no.
Okay.
No.
I think
there are evidence that things like that have happened.
I messed up there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and that makes sense.
Right.
That makes sense to me. Completely unreal. Mm-hmm. It's I look at this. This is gonna be terrible.
No.
Smeagol.
Smeagol.
Lord of the Rings. Right.
Yeah, okay.
My precious. Exactly. When he goes into the cave, he evolves into something he wasn't.
Over 500 years.
He adapts to that cave.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And I believe in that. Yes. I believe in that kind of evolutionary track.
Yes. I have evolved from our childhoods.
Okay.
So I was in South Dearborn Heights. I was born and raised Catholic, and I was the son of a former Marine, a pipe fitter. I was going to be a blue collar guy, just like my dad was. My grandfather was a farmer. So did I follow that chain?
Okay.
Well, I didn't work. I did work a lot of different construction, but my vocation that I retired from was firefighting.
Mm-hmm.
Still a blue collar job. I was part of the admin, so I was a white collar. So I was part of management in the fire service. So I've evolved up that chain, but and here I am. I live on a farm now, not in the city. So maybe I've devolved, because I'm not
devolution.
Devolution. We're making up words. Grab a dictionary and follow along. Get a bingo card and your free space is devolution. But so you have changed and evolved from your childhood to where maybe your friends or family from back then don't even recognize you, like they don't even recognize me.
Yeah, I agree. So you consider like adaptations?
Yeah.
All right. You evolve for certain circumstances that have changed in your life.
Yeah.
Like it's not like now you have the power of flight.
No, that'd be awesome. But,
right. But like you have a tail and you can teleport.
I have the power of limp.
Yeah.
Because I have a metal foot, a metal knee, a metal collarbone. So I limp now when I walk, So I have the power of looking like feeble in another 30 years,
I don't know.
I'll be a frail old man. But yeah.
I'm gonna be wrecked the rest of the time. I have the power of
Yeah,
limp.
yeah.
I don't know anything else you said.
Oh well.
Okay.
So
I've always wondered, I guess, the missing link. Where's the proof that,
Lucy,
yeah, where's the proof of being a little amoeba to the growth that we have now? Like, I've seen this sketch of the monkey man,
yeah,
it goes from monkey to man. And I'm like, but where's the proof of that?
there isn't.
Yeah.
Stay there. New book, The New Answers Book 1, 25 Questions of Creation, Evolution, and the Bible. General editors Ken Ham and Bodie Hodge.
Okay.
Answers in Genesis. Ken Ham is the guy that did the Ark in Kentucky,
Okay.
and he's got a bookstore in there, and I recommend these books to a lot of different people that have questions. Can I answer them? Not as eloquently as Ken Ham or
Right.
Bob Duco or some of the others that have really done the research and found the answers where the lies that we've been given as children, the earth is not millions and billions and trillions of years
Interesting.
old
Yeah.
and things like that.
So this is called
answers. There's a couple different
Answers.
versions.
The New Answers Book 1,
Yeah.
Ken Ham. Okay. And he does the answers in Genesis too, correct?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
So there's a lot of Ken Ham books up there. But again,
do you think so? I'll be completely honest. I haven't read a lot of Ken Ham or listened to a lot of Ken Ham. It has something to do with his Australian accent. Just can't get past it.
Can't get past it.
Yeah.
Crikeys.
Yeah. Shrimp on the bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tingo babies.
But you know where else there's talk of dinosaurs in
Yeah.
the Bible is in Job. Did you know that?
I
The
did.
dinosaurs are mentioned
I did know
in
that.
Job.
So as you're finding that, do you find that Ken Ham, the answers from Genesis, the Ark, and all that stuff, do you find it's like logical, like it's like an everyday person could logically follow what they're saying, their view of either past or dinosaurs or evolution, their theory, I guess it would be.
A lot. They're written in a comprehensible or in a.
But it's not
I
like
don't know what.
it's not like
grade.
oh, that's outlandish. That's crazy.
Well, it is crazy and outlandish to most people because what have we been taught in grade school?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I went to Catholic grade school, and the Earth was billions of years old.
Right.
Then, when the nuns were teaching me.
Right.
So.
And I'll tell you flat out, I'm still not a young earther.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still undecided on this, and that's only because I haven't done enough investigation. And then, of course, most of the people in my circle that I go to, they're all young earthers, and they tell me I need to be a young earther. And the last thing you should do is tell me what I have to do, because I'm going to do the complete opposite.
Yeah.
until I resolve for myself.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt, don't eat that cookie.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat 2 of them.
Yeah, right. Don't tell me.
Don't tell me what.
Don't pet that shark.
Yeah, I'm gonna cuddle it. Job 40, verse 15. God's power shown in creatures is the heading of this section. So starting at verse 15, behold now behemoth, which I have made as well as you. He eats grass like an ox. Behold now, his strength is in his loins and his power, and in the muscles of his belly. He bends tall trees like cedar. The sinew of his thighs are knit together. His bones are tubes of bronze. His limbs are like bars of iron. He is the first of the ways of God. Let's hear his maker bring near his sword. Surely the mountains bring him food. A lot of people think, well, this is talking about the hippo or the rhino, okay, and it's not. He bends his tail like cedar. The sinew of his thighs are knit together. His bones are tubes of bronze. His limbs are like bars of iron. And then further on, God shows power in creatures, chapter 41. Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook, or press down his tongue with a cord? can you put a rope in his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? Um, while he make while he make many supplications to you, or while he make many supplications, or while he speak to you with soft words while the covenant with you. Um, I know that there's more in here about both Leviathan and the Behemoth, and they're described as dinosaurs.
Okay.
Okay,
So is it
so
their supplication? And I know this is out of both of our
yeah,
depths, I believe. Is it their supplication that when the flood happens, that's when dinosaurs no longer exist, or what? Because I'm ignorant of that. I
yeah,
haven't researched enough, and I know they articulate this somewhere in Answers
right.
from Genesis.
In Answers in
Yeah.
Genesis, yes, Bob Duco does a great
Okay.
story of a top 10 proofs. Um, it's not written per se in the Bible when everything, the
Right.
dinosaurs and everything died off.
But
Um,
do they have their idea of when they think likely the dinosaurs died off? Because they
yes,
obviously the Earth's like 6,000 years old,
right,
and so essentially man and dinosaur had to live at the same time because
right,
creation doesn't have a different story. There's not a pre-creation creation story,
right.
stuff like that.
Well, and you look at the zodiac, the Chinese zodiac.
Hmm.
You've gone to a Chinese restaurant and you've got the little animals and what years and okay, like I think I'm the boar,
Okay.
but they've got 11
I would never
animals.
describe you as a bore.
No,
You're a hoot.
very exciting.
Yeah.
So I don't fit the mold. Um, but there's 11 animals that we know and see today, and then there's the dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, the dragon lived with man. Now, are we talking a dragon like in Lord of the Rings,
Mm,
or in make believe? The mythological dragon flies around,
right.
fire breathing, killing people. Uh, no, but Marco Polo describes dragons.
Okay.
There are cave drawings of animals and dragons.
This is interesting because I think recently Joe Rogan was talking about dragons, and it's
Mhm.
something I've never
Yeah,
explored.
yeah,
This is fascinating. I want to dive a little more into this.
yeah. It's you know, people think, well, we don't see them anymore. They don't exist.
Hmm.
In the dictionary, there's an actual creature called a unicorn,
Mm,
and it's described. It sounds like a rhino, but rhinos have two horns.
right.
But there was a one-horned creature, unicorn. Look it up in the
That's
older dictionaries.
interesting.
Um, so, did these mythological creatures evolve in stories? Yes, but I mean, there's the kimono
Well,
dragon today.
yeah. So now that we're here, let's just go ahead and we'll just jump into this. What
Yeah.
about Bigfoot? What do you think? Really? What do you think, Brad?
What about Bigfoot? I you see a lot of cutouts of them the further up north you go in Michigan.
Do you
Um,
believe there was a giant ape or is a giant ape?
Still to this day, probably not.
Okay.
Was he out there? Let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, 4, the Nephilim.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. I get where you're going with that. Is that's possible? Hmm. I don't know, man. I'm like,
and maybe he just evolved because it was cold because he's in northern Michigan where it's cold, so he grew a lot of hair.
what's the
The
Gigantopithecus?
what?
The Gigantopithecus. I
Never heard of
believe
that
that's what
one.
I believe. It's like a giant ape,
Okay.
like a giant ape, and I think it's the most closely resembled Bigfoot or whatever. But I just part of me is like, yeah, I want there to be a Bigfoot. How cool would that be?
How about the Loch Ness
I've
monster?
I've seen
How
Harry
about
and the Hendersons. Like, let's do this. You know what I mean? Like, he's sweet. He's a good guy. He's helpful. Get things that are up high.
yeah?
Right? But
Uh,
I'm doubting Thomas for sure.
okay.
Like, you gotta you gotta show. I gotta touch something. I gotta see it. Yeah.
You gotta touch his hair, huh?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I got
That's
to do it. So that's why I could never believe in evolution.
right.
If you can't show me, if I can't touch that missing link, if I can't go, oh, that's it. I'm like, no, doesn't work.
Well, theoretically,
Yeah.
if something evolves, should there be any more of this? If I've gone from here to here,
Mhm.
this should be gone.
No, well, okay,
And from
yes and
here
no,
to there,
yes and no.
we should have no more apes. We should have no more.
Well, yeah, okay, I get where we're going now. I agree wholeheartedly. There should be no more apes, right? Because they should have died off. Because what's his face? Who did evolution? Darwin,
There.
right? Survival of the fittest, right? Well, if you're not fit, you die.
Yeah.
If you're fit, you survive. You evolve,
Right.
right? So yeah, apes should be gone, right? And then you can't sit here and tell me, well, that species of ape is no. Nope. Everything should be evolving. And if a human is the most evolved animal
Yeah.
on the planet, right? We're most evolved with thinking, talking, all that stuff. Then there should be things that are just as evolved as us,
Mm-hmm.
right? But there aren't,
Right.
and there's nothing in between. And you can't go back to a fossil. And of course, you could tomorrow we could discover that there's a fossil down there. We could do that, right? Not going to happen. We could do that
Right.
just like tomorrow we could find out that there's aliens.
And
Not going
there
to happen. Yeah.
there is a scientific law. I can't remember it. It's I think it's the law. I'm not even going to try to. It's like the law of equivity or something like that, where two things. If I've evolved from something, this is gone.
Right. Yeah. It has to.
It is a law.
Yeah.
I remember listening to a podcast about it, and Paul Washer even talked about it in one of his. So these two things were non-related,
Right.
and Paul Washer mentioned it's the law of
Sure.
escapes my tongue.
Yeah.
But basically, if two things are fighting for the same thing, and they get better, evolved. Stronger.
One's
This
evolving.
one is the two can no longer
Yeah.
exist.
That makes sense
Yes.
logically. And what also makes sense logically is that microevolution you're talking about,
Yeah.
where different climates, different terrain makes things evolve differently.
Yeah.
You take a bird, from Michigan, and all of a sudden you move that bird to Hawaii. It's going to have to evolve.
Yeah.
Right? There's no way around it. It's going to have to evolve to that terrain because
Right.
what it can feed off here, where it can live here, it's not the same there.
Let's just take,
or it'll die off.
well, let's just take you. We move you to Florida.
Done.
Okay.
Don't need to evolve anymore.
He's happy.
I'm good.
4, 5, 6 years later,
Yeah.
we bring you back to Michigan.
You might as well kill me. I don't even know why we're talking about it. I don't like this game. This game got weird.
Because
Yeah.
you've acclimated.
Acclimated. Yeah, exactly right.
Evolved
Yeah.
to the.
I've adapted to that.
To the closer,
Yes.
living closer to the equator than you have living closer to
100%.
Long
hair, looking like a hippie, tan as can be. I get it.
Yeah.
Flip flops.
And we put you in your flip flops and your shorts and bring you up here in January.
Yeah.
You're gonna freeze to death.
Gonna freeze to death. Yeah.
Not like it, right? So have you evolved? Or are we just gonna stay acclimated?
So I guess, yeah. Well, I think a better way of saying it in my mind is adaptation. You adapted to it. So evolving in my mind, if something evolves, it's going to be like an evolution is something that's going to be permanent.
Yeah.
So that hooked beak, that's permanent. But say something changes and they stop feeding that coconut, they feed on something else. If that beak straightens out to more of a less of a long hook to normal whatever beak would be.
Right.
For me, and also I'm no scientist. I don't know if you knew that. That's just an adaptation.
Right.
You have adapted to that, But I guess whatever. I don't know. We didn't come from apes. We didn't come from a single cell amoeba. Get it together, guys.
We have Australian Shepherds.
Okay.
And things I didn't know when we started breeding Australian Shepherds, the puppies, if they have a tail, Australian Shepherds, true Australian Shepherds are there to protect and herd sheep.
Okay.
And when they have an Australian Shepherd that they're going to do this with, they lop the tail off because the tail is a way that the wolf, the predator, grabs the dog, catches the dog, kills the dog, and now it can go after the sheep.
Yeah.
So they've started to cut the tails off so that they could function. Now we've delivered. We've had 3 litters of puppies. Not a single puppy that we've delivered had a full tail.
Interesting.
They were short or very short, and then we would take them to the vet to get the tail lopped because that's part of the breed standard now. for the American version of the Australian Shepherd. So that's why
Yeah.
our two dogs have very short. The female has a little bit longer tail, but the male, you can't even tell he has a tail until he's excited. And you see it wagging.
Interesting.
But when they were born, their tails were extremely short. So is that,
Ooh.
evolution or adaptation, or just,
Yeah.
because it's what was bred into
Well, that's
the
see,
standard,
what's the difference?
you know?
This is a
Well, and how do we get
yeah.
mini anything, mini pinchers, mini
Sure,
Dobermans,
exactly.
mini
By
Aussies,
playing
mini
God,
cow?
and you
Yeah.
shall not play God.
And we shrink, we
Yeah.
take the smallest and we breed it, and then we have smallest and smallest and we breed it now.
Mm.
And now we have Great Danes that are, you know very sick, very mutated,
That's
very
not a Great Dane.
no,
That's an okay Dane.
it's not a, it's a meh Dane.
I've seen
But
bigger.
yeah, but so we're
Stupid.
playing God, just
Yeah.
like you said,
Mhm.
and trying
Uh,
to get what we want.
right. No.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Interesting.
yeah.
All right. Well, this was a fun evolutionary
The way
discussion.
we've evolved into
I've
this,
evolved. My thinking has evolved.
but there are resources.
Yeah.
Neither of us, we both admit we're not experts on this. We're
Yeah.
not well versed on it, but there are a lot of resources out there. Um, Ken Ham, Answers in Genesis. Read his books if you can't listen to his voice. Um, Bob Duco,
Okay.
top 10 proofs.
Yeah.
And he answers a lot of things for why other religions are false, why it's a young Earth, a round Earth, not a flat Earth. We haven't even
Ooh.
touched the whole flat
Oh
Earth
man.
uh,
Let me tell you, that's a whole nother
section. Yeah,
podcast.
that is.
Yeah.
You know, so but again, do your research.
Yeah.
Don't just go to uh, your standard grade school, high school curriculum
Right.
books, because there's a lot of disproof in those books, and the science behind. You always say trust the science, trust
Yeah.
the
Trust
science.
science.
Well, talk to a scientist with I would love to see some Harvard scientist, some evolution guru, and say, let's talk about these top 10 truths that Bob Duco talks about. Let's talk about what Ken
Right.
Ham, Ken Ham and Bill Nye, the science guy, who's not even a science guy, have gone face to face on YouTube. Those are great videos to watch, by
Yeah.
the
I
way.
see. That's where I try to introduce myself with Ken Ham, is
Yeah,
watching him debate the bow tide.
yeah,
Uh,
because
man.
I think he went to high school and took a science class there. I don't even think he's got a science degree.
Well, I think he has an engineering degree. I think he's an engineer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Weirdo.
who is a scientist
Who?
who does have a lot of degrees behind him?
Who?
Dolph Lundgren.
He does.
He
He's
is. He's
this
more Bill Nye the science guy than
the
Bill Nye
Bill
the
Nye is.
science guy.
He's Dolph Lundgren, the
Dolph
science
Lundgren.
guy.
Yeah.
So Brad's suggestion is, if you have questions, you want to see something outside of what you've learned, or you have, you're curious, start with Bob
Yeah. Yeah.
and Kinham, Answers in Genesis.
Yeah. The great resources. And just
Be open-minded.
be open minded,
Yeah.
because a lot of people, I've shared these things with people, and they're like, you're telling me
Yeah.
that all the schools that I've ever gone to and all the schools in the world are lying to us? There's no way you have the right information, Brad.
Yeah.
People just aren't ready for the truth.
That's me. You gotta,
You know,
like I said, I'm Thomas. I want to see that hand, Jesus.
not everybody is ready for the truth.
Yeah.
And not everybody that we talk to and share the gospel with is going to be like, yes, I want Jesus into
Right.
my heart. Please tell me more. Share the gospel story with me. Get me to church, mentor me, build me up, make me a man or a woman of Christ. No, a lot of people are like, I got to change my ways. I got to stop my drinking, my drugs, my having fun, my premarital sex. I got to stop all that. I don't want what you got. So even then, just because somebody has the information doesn't mean they're going to absorb it. You can't make that horse drink.
All right. Good to know.
Per the science.
All right. Well, I'm Matt.
I'm Brad.
And this is Men, Mission, Manna.
Yep. So again, thank you guys for sticking with us and watching our podcast and then our conversations. And we really hope this touches home with you guys. And if you have questions or concerns, reach out to Matt. He loves to know.
It can reach me
He-
at 555.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But no, put your comments in the comment section, and we'll do our best to get back with you and answer. So
Yeah, and if you have a topic or you want us
Yeah.
to talk about something, we're experts of nothing, but we like talking about
I
things.
do have a third chair. We could put
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
else up here and do.
Come in and join us.
We'd love to have Ken Ham or Bob Duco
Oh, for sure.
or Bill Nye the Science Guy come and sit with
for
us.
sure, Bill Nye. That would
Yeah,
be wonderful.
So
Yeah.
we're not experts, but we're passionate about men being men, biblically men.
Well, we like conversation.
Yeah.
And we like the open dialogue,
Yeah.
and we want to learn. We want,
Yeah.
this is part of us learning and growing is
Absolutely.
having conversation.
So,
all right.
I like it.
God bless.
Yeah. God bless, guys.
I'll walk over there now.
Okay.